Our next speaker is a sponsor, Shannon Robnett. Has been in the business for over 27 years, and his specialty is something I'm just fascinated by because I don't know that much about it. It is ground up development. If anybody in here does land or has opportunity to do land and development, this is the guy you want to talk to. You want to hear what he has to say. Shannon, take it away, sir. All right.
So I can promise you that I'm not going to bring the energy that Bridger did. At my age, I just don't know that's possible. But I wanted to thank you guys for being here and give you some insight on what it really means to be in development. So some of the topics we're going to cover today is just the background, my background in development. What is development? We're going to talk about the market changes. We're all seeing market changes right now. And a lot of people are seeing that development may be a way through that. Now, a lot of people are saying just the opposite. Development is where the risk is at, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the evolution of what development does, what the pros and cons are, and how to mitigate your risks when you're taking on something like development. So a little bit about me. I've been in the industry for 27 years. I didn't really have a choice. Like Bridger, I was born into a family, but my parents weren't covert about it. Every night at the table, my dad was a builder and developer. My mom was a realtor, and I got to hear about real estate and what was for dinner. And it really became something that I didn't really know and understand until I was older. I even told this to Robert Kiyosaki. I said, your book was one of the most unimpressive books I ever read. And those of you that know Robert knew that he had something to say about that. But he looked at me and he smiled and he said, your parents must have been involved in real estate. That's a good book. You should read it while you're golfing. So I grew up with that, and I didn't really know the power of what I had involved myself in until I decided I wanted to go to college, and I tried to go that route. Didn't really work out for me. They wanted me to attend class every day, and I didn't really want to go. But the reality is I learned a lot there, and out of that, we built quite a few projects. We've done a lot of development, and I saw that every time I finished a project and I turned it over to the current owner, they got to continue making money on that, and I didn't. And I watched my parents retire with cash flow. I watched how that continued to support their life, and I began to figure that out. And in 2001, I built my first industrial project for myself. Still have two of the original tenants in it. They paid for the building. I'm very proud of them. But over that 27-year period, we've returned an average of 25% to our investors. We've done everything from 104% in 20 months to other deals that have always performed. We've got about $125 million under management right now. The thing that we like to do is we like to build. We like to create the original value add. We like to build, fill, stabilize, and then sell that asset and move that in a tax-efficient way to the next deal. We've done over $425 million in construction in new development alone. These are some of the projects we've done in the last 12 months. The Cutton Street Industrial is one we have in the fine city of Houston right here. We have deals from Washington to Florida, and we're currently heavily involved in industrial and multifamily, two very different asset classes, but both very undersupplied in the market right now. So several types of development. A lot of you guys have heard office is not the place to be right now. A lot of that is converting to mixed use development where you combine multiple assets in the same location. We've seen that where you've got retail on the ground floor, you've got some office in the middle, and either condos or apartments above. That's a really prominent asset class that's got a lot of legs on it right now, and it's something that we're seeing a lot of happen in larger markets around the country right now. Industrial is another asset class that I really like. It's an asset class that is fairly recession resistant. Those of you that know, triple net leases offer you the opportunity to get reimbursed for all of your expenses from your tenants. So how many of you guys are multifamily operators out there? Okay. Anybody notice anything happen to your bottom line when your insurance agent left? Like it got smoked, right? But those are the kind of things that industrial allows you to pass on to your tenants because everything is a reimbursable expense. So your property taxes increase, that's a tenant expense. Your cost of maintenance and management increases, that's also a tenant expense. And then we have everybody's darling. The multifamily has had a great run, but it's also a very undersupplied asset class right now. Currently, the estimates are anywhere from 4 to 9 million housing units short in America right now. Thanks to high interest rates, we're not seeing that gap close rapidly. In fact, residential home builders are seeing things shorten up on their side. A lot less projects are getting done and developed right now. Let's talk about the typical lifestyle. Lifestyle of a developer is one of craze and sleepless nights, but let's talk about the life cycle of the development. One of the things that I've watched over the last couple of years, I've watched people friends of mine that are involved in value add, multifamily. One day their life is as placid as a pond, and the next day it looks like the center of hell. And the reason is because they got a call from the real estate broker that said, hey, we've got a deal that we want you to take a look at. The problem is there are 9 other people bidding on this job, bidding on this project. And you're fighting for that constantly. The life cycle of a development deal is much slower. It's a very placid thing. We find a piece of property, we identify it, we find out what needs to happen to it. And I learned very early on to write a purchase contract that was favorable to myself and the landowner. So typically what we do is we come in and we put the property under contract at full value, whatever they're asking. We find that value works good, but it's contingent on all of the entitlements being given to us. Then the nice caveat that we do after that is we put a promissory note as our earnest money deposit, usually 400, 500,000, as long as it's paper. Let's just pretend like we're the government. We put that promissory note up that converts to cash 3 days after all of our approvals are given to us. Right after that, we submit for building permits, and very quickly, 36 short months later, you've got 200 units of brand new apartments standing that you're now in the process of tenantizing, stabilizing, putting permanent debt on. That's been part of our business model for a long time. And so we come into areas where we can identify the market first. We come in and we look at it and we make sure that the market, the demographics of the market really need what we're doing. Because instead of looking all over the nation for different things, we look at markets and say, we really like this market. We'd rather do a good deal in a great market than a great deal in a good market. San Francisco office is on sale, but how many people want to do it right now? One of the things that we look at is the economic and sociocultural drivers. We look at the technological advances that are happening in the area. One could argue right now, one of the best markets to be in for industrial and multifamily is a little place called Raleigh, North Carolina, because you look at what's happening in that marketplace and you look at what's coming into it. You look at the grants that are over almost $2 billion annually from Duke University alone. You look at the medical field that's exploding there. You look at things like that are going to continue to drive demand regardless of what the rest of the market does. These are some of the things that we look at as to how to adapt to those market changes, because you want to be, as a developer, you have to be in front. You have to be there before everybody else gets there, because you're not trying to buy what somebody else built, you're trying to build what somebody else is going to buy. And so one of the things that we always look at is how to be in front of that by looking at the market trends, looking at the moving patterns, looking at the things that are coming and being in front of that, but being in front of it usually 36 to 48 months ahead. So here's some of the pros of development: high potential for return. We create the original value add. We take the sticks and stones, we add the tenant, we put that back out on the market, and we're able to develop phenomenal returns for our investors. You can get into asset diversification. A lot of times you'll see a property that you can put multiple asset classes on and spread your risk even inside of one project. We create the value from scratch. We're always in there to take advantage of what the property is and take it into what the property can be, creating value every step of the way, whether it's just land entitlement or not. Running short on time, but lengthy timelines are what can be your cons, especially in high inflationary interest rate environment. Market volatility risk: if you're in a skinny market, a tertiary market, that can be a problem. Regulatory changes can provide you with problems, but the high upfront capital requirement can be a pro and a con. Right now, having high capital requirements is actually helping you because of where interest rates are going. Some of the importances of risk mitigation is to make sure you do your due diligence. There's been a lot of people that have gotten involved in syndication and raising capital that don't have the traditional respect for what interest rates normally are and what lending normally has done. And when you look at the history that a company like ours has, you're able to see all of the timeline that we've been there, and we're able to underwrite to a way that makes sense. We're able to partner with experienced GPs, do other things like that, and really get in with the contractors that are going to be able to deliver the product without cost overruns, without delays. Because really, if you're not in there to control those costs, they can't get away from you. And when they do, that can be very expensive. So guys, that's it for me. That's all the time they allotted me. I guess I didn't write Tim a big enough check, but
There's still a chance.
there's still a chance. I too can become a VIP, right? So thank you guys for your time. You can find me on the Wahova app or come see me at table 11.